Broncos country, what's going on? We're back. It's the horsepower hour post Super Bowl, and we're just turning the page, man. I think, guys, we got like a lot of stuff to cover. So I don't even know if we'll touch much on the Super Bowl, but hey, everybody watching, be sure to like, subscribe, get in the comments. You guys help make this show fun. You don't have to agree with us. I was arguing with all y'all in Kodiak and Mark's stream yesterday. That was a lot of fun. Shout out to Cal Shee as well for sponsoring Dave Talks Broncos. Use that code DTB for a $10 bonus when you deposit. 10 links in the description. I guess, guys, like, do we just want to get into our free agency stuff, or like, did you guys? We didn't do any prep around like Super Bowl, but honestly, I'm kind of like, whatever with the Super Bowl, it happened. The right team won, and that's really about it. I don't know, Jeremy. Anything you need to say about the Super Bowl?
It went down about the way I thought it was going to. Like, it was going to be one of those things where the Pats fans specifically, they were so geeked up about everything last week, and they were like, "Oh, you guys have excuses." I'm like, "Hey, if you guys go in and beat Seattle, I'll give you all the credit." Do I think you're going to go in and beat Seattle? No, I don't. When Pat Surtain predicted a 35-7 Seattle Seahawks win, I was like, they're going to get killed if Pat Surtain because that's just downright disrespectful. And he was almost right. He was almost right there for a minute. So, yeah.
Yeah, outside of Matt Collins, just having some Matt Collins moments, whatever. But today, guys, we're going to go through each different person here on the panel has like a different position group where we're going to talk about kind of our top targets for these different position groups in free agency. I'm including some guys to talk about in the trade market as well, or potential cap casualties. So guys, we'll cover the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs. What was the fourth one we had? Linebacker?
Inside linebacker, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We'll kind of have 4 different discussions around these items. Well, and I guess to just level set, right now the Broncos sit at about $26 million of salary cap space. With a few different moves, they can open up close to $40 million. That is releasing Ben Powers. And releasing Ben Powers with a post-June 1st cut that should open up, I think, about $13 million. You have Matt Pert's going to open up $3 million. And we should just move on from Drew Sanders. That saves us like another $1 million. So that should get us up to north of $40 million for the Broncos to work with. Who wants to start first, man? Who is really feeling their position group right now?
I'll go. I'll start.
Yeah,
I just looked at the faces of Kodiak and Jeremy, and they're like,
I could go. I mean, I don't mind whoever wants to go.
Yeah, I'll go. I did the tight ends. So speaking of send nudes, I will start with the tight ends here, and we will go. So here's the way that I did it, right? In terms of, I put like a top 5 list together, but it wasn't like I was like, oh, these are the 5 best tight ends available for the Broncos. Like, I tried to make it realistic. So I tried to be like 3 guys that I would consider to be starters, high-end, more expensive players, and then 2 guys that I think are really good players that we can get for cheap. That would be like the blocking hybrid Adam Troutman replacements. All right. So we can also talk about some cap casualties too. So for me, we're going to start with number 5. Well, should I start with number 1? I'll start with number 1. It makes more sense in this one. So my number 1 free agent tight end target, after looking at this for the last, 2-3 weeks now, even before the Broncos lost, I went back and forth, and I've come to terms with, I think the guy that I want the most is Cade Otton, the tight end from Tampa Bay.
Okay.
And the reason that I chose Cade Otton is because I think he's the best mix of youth, but solid production as well. And I don't think he's going to cost as much as like Dallas Goedert would, maybe David Njoku, maybe even Isaiah Likely would, but he'd be, I think, a little bit less. But I like his age. I think he's a really good, like above average blocker at the position. He's been improving every year. Super steady. Like, he's got 40 plus catches, 400 plus yards every single season of his career. And he hasn't really been featured. I mean, I know Tampa throws it a lot, but they don't throw it a lot to the tight end. So I think he's really good. He can open up the middle of the field. Super underrated. So Cade Otton's my number one guy.
Selfishly, I would really want Kate Otten just because my last name is Otten. I don't spell it that way, but like to hear Otten touchdown would be like fantastic.
Well, yeah, that's awesome. And didn't we have that coach too? Was it Justin Outen? Was it Outen or Otten with him?
Well, I pronounce my last name Otten, and so but I spell it with an A, and he spells it with an O. But that would still be cool.
Yeah, that would be sweet. That'd be really cool if his name was Jeremy.
That would be awesome. That would be something. I'd have to get a jersey at that point.
Actually, speaking of, one of the guys on this list has the same first and last name as a former colleague of mine, and so that'd be really funny. But yeah, Cade Otton.
Now,
I think he's.
Are you worried at all that he only had one touchdown on the year?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. It was funny because they actually talked about it. Like he wasn't targeted much at all in the red zone. And he finally broke through. But if you look at the other seasons, like he's gotten some decent tight end production. I think 4 or 5 and 2 in the previous season. Yeah. So he's like I said, he's not necessarily this touchdown machine. Oh, another thing is 62% of his catches resulted in a first down or a touchdown. So
oh, that's a very interesting stat.
That's good.
Yeah. And you'll see that's actually kind of common with a lot of these tight ends. Number 2 is going to be Isaiah Likely. I feel like they're very similar. Like he's a very similar player to Cade Otton. He's also only 25 years old. I think he's got the most upside of any of the tight ends in the draft, in the free agency market, because I feel like he's just got a little bit extra juice. Really good field stretcher. He's an adequate blocker. Like he's not as good of a blocker as Cade Otton. I think Cade Otton's more well-rounded, but I think Isaiah Likely's good enough. I think he's going to cost you more, but he'd be a really great option. And 64% of his catches resulted in a first down or a touchdown.
Okay.
So, he's going to be the guy that gives you a little bit more juice, but I just don't know how much he fits. But ironically, the Broncos passed on him to draft Greg Dulcich.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yucky.
So either they're going to have a chance, either like they're going to stuck in the way like that they don't like him, or they're going to have the chance to right their wrongs in this one. But yeah, so I got Isaiah Likely. And then the third guy that I have is mentioned in the chat, and I'm going to coin the new nickname. I actually texted this into Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan with Cecil and Dover. And a few weeks ago, I put this nickname out there. Maybe we'll make it a thing. But David Njoku, right? He's going to be the Joker. David Njoku is my third guy. And the only reason he's below the other two, even though I think he's probably the most talented and been the most productive over, his 8 years, is because he's a little bit older. And I think he's going to, I worry that he's maybe on a decline. I can't really say that. He's got a little bit of an injury history, but he's going to cost quite a bit too. He's probably going to be the most expensive of the three, and he's a little bit older, but physically gifted player. He's just been a good blocker, good receiver. And really in the 8 seasons he's played, 7 of them have been really productive. One of them was just injury related. So he's been really solid.
Now I did, move him up my non-existent board with his announcement that he's just not even going to negotiate with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
That's
smart, man.
Yeah. Like he's got smarts. That's what I'm talking about. Like you already made one mistake, signing an extension, right? To stay there. So, yeah, man, I would love to see Njoku out here. So this is your top 3. Do you think that, how much money should we be spending now, this $40 million on tight end?
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. Obviously, the year 1 cap hit on the tight ends is going to be low, and I think, and I've kind of did some exercises where we can get well north of 50 million if we really wanted to. Yeah. I think that it's going to be a 12 to 15 million a year on average. I mean, I would say at minimum for any of these 3 guys. So I would say like Cade Otton, you're looking at probably like a 3-year deal for 40, 45 million. Similar for Likely. And then Njoku, I don't know if he wants a really long-term deal, or maybe he'd want like a 2-year deal, but it'd probably be in the 13 to 15 million average annual. So I think any one of those would be worth it at that price. And also, like, let's say you got Cade Otton or any one of those 3 really. You then have flexibility with with Ingram. Like, you don't have to cut Ingram. His contract's not crazy, but you could do a post-June 1st cut on him and save a whole bunch of money. You just have to pay a little bit more dead money next year, but it's like $7 million. So if you really wanted to free up more, I mean, you could. But at that point, it's kind of up to how we wanted to do it.
I was looking at some of the next gen stats, like prepping for all this, like yards of separation and stuff like that. Man, Evan Ingram was one of the top tight ends in yards of separation this year. And it's like we just didn't even care. We didn't even care.
What was it at? Was it on Player Profiler?
No, this was on NFL Next Gen Stats.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I'll pull it up here. But yeah, you know who was also at the top of their position group? Not like number one, but
Mims?
Close to it.
Mims?
Yes.
He's always really high. I think a lot of that is hyperinflated because of the role, but I mean, we need to get him the ball more. Like,
look at this. Oh, Evan Ingram was number one in yards of separation at the tight end position. Look at that.
Yeah, it's actually insane. So it's crazy because on Player Profiler, his target separation is 2.42, but it puts him at number 2. And I think it would still be number 1 for tight ends. So, yeah, I mean, it's weird, dude. That's why for me, like, I'm not a proponent of like getting rid of Ingram. I mean, his contract is really not that expensive. If you have to pay more for, one more season, because it really is just one more year, then you do it. But at the end of the day, he could separate, but if he's not getting the ball or he's dropping or something, it doesn't necessarily work, But yes, BK makes a good point. Like, I would say he was improperly utilized, and that's kind of a concerning theme across the board because Kodiak said it with Marvin Mims too, man. Like, I mean, what is it going to take to unleash Marvin Mims at this point?
A new wide receivers coach.
I guess so. And also, I guess, what did it take to fully unleash Marvin Mims? Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant both going out against the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I guess, what's it going to take to unleash Evan Ingram? Troutman and Adkins and Kroll all going down?
Yeah. I mean, or it's one of those where maybe we just need to get like actual tight ends that can block, so you don't have to ask Evan Ingram to block and he can just run routes. Because he was blocking a lot, And it's like, what the hell's going on? And I had it up earlier, like the amount of times that he was blocking was like not normal. He's the type of player that shouldn't be blocking that much. Like, I get why you want to have at least a threat of it, but it was like, I think 50% of the time he was blocking, and then the other 50% he was actually running a route, which is crazy.
But I don't know. The utilization, like, we got to get a little bit more serious about all this, because we could talk about who we want to sign and what role they're going to be good in. But if it's September and we're still deploying these game plan specific packages where we're running like 3 tight ends and setting our best receiver, best playmaker out there on 15% of the snaps, then it might all be for nothing.
Yep. That's a very good point.
At the end of the day, though, we need to sign at least one of these guys. Mark, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but we got a bunch of tight ends that like we need to move on from, probably including, Root Beer. Who else we got? Lucas Kroll. Are there any like, I don't know, bargain basement tight ends that you've been looking at as guys that we could probably sign post draft? Say we don't draft a tight end or draft another basketball player that you think could fill a nice depth role for us.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. So I think we can get to the last 2 guys on my list because I think they fit that mold. I don't know if they fit the mold of post draft, but there's a lot. Like, I'm of the mindset of I genuinely think that we should sign minimum 2 tight ends in free agency and minimum draft at least 1. But like, I'm good with signing 2 in free agency and drafting 2. Because why the hell not? Because just like you said, you can make the argument that everybody, you can redo this entire positional group. You can look at, like, say, okay, maybe Nate Atkins is the only one you do keep because he was really injured this year, and at least we've seen that, like, as a blocker, he's decent enough at it. It's like, okay, sure, fine, you can keep him. He's cheap. But I'm obviously good with letting him go. But yeah, so I like for number 4, who I had was Daniel Bellinger. And
Ooh.
I was kind of a fan of him during the year. He ate us up, like the one game he ate a lot. But Daniel Bellinger, I feel like, is one of those players that here's what I wrote down on him: does everything Troutman is supposed to do, but better. You know, he basically is like, because I feel like the role he played is very similar to what we want Adam Troutman here, but he's a much better blocker, and he's a more dynamic receiver when he gets the chance to. He's a huge red zone target. It's one of those, like, he's not gotten a lot of chance to catch the ball, but when he does, it seems like he's making plays. And he's still young. He's only 27 years old. I don't think he's going to cost a whole bunch. So I think Daniel Bellinger would make a whole bunch of sense. And he's the guy that has the same name as a former colleague of mine. So there's that one. And then I want to get to my number 5 because I feel like it might cause a little bit of drama. It's going to be a fun speculation. And then I can get to answering your question on, because there's a lot of blocking tight ends. Charlie Kolar is one that I mentioned quite a bit in the past too. I think he's either the nephew or the son of Bill Kolar, our former O-line coach. But like this dude, all he's done in the NFL is just be a blocking tight end, and he's just extremely good at it. Like he's 270 pounds, just smaller for the Ravens. So he's a bargain basement guy. But my number 5 is Taysom Hill.
Yes. I was hoping you were going to bring him up.
I just can't. I feel like of all the, you know how Sean Payton has his crushes, like the guys he just can't get enough of, and I usually hate all those guys. I'm totally with him on Taysom Hill.
Yeah,
I love Taysom Hill. I wrote here, like it or not, the fit makes a lot of sense. Yes, he's 35, but believe it or not, he's been in the NFL just as long as David Njoku has. He was a very old prospect coming out of BYU. He can block his ass off. He can be our backup quarterback and maybe have a better chance to beat the Patriots with Taysom Hill as your backup than with Stiddy. Upside as a runner, upside as a receiver. And dude, I think Taysom Hill is really good. I think he can give you another, year or two good. He looked good coming off the ACL injury, and he played limited this year, but I thought he played really well. So again, he'd be a depth piece, but super familiar with what Sean Payton wants to know. He can help a lot on those goal line packages and short yardage. His skill set just makes a whole lot of sense.
Breaking his ankle. How about that?
Yeah, he definitely could do that. No doubt about it. So I think Taysom Hill is a really good option. I think he'd be super cheap. He's gotten like a shitload of money in his career. It's crazy. And I don't know, man. Like, is Taysom Hill a Hall of Famer?
What Hall of Fame for what?
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know this sounds crazy. And I had this argument with somebody once, and I'm like, dude, you can make this argument. This dude has 34 rushing touchdowns, 13 receiving touchdowns, 12 passing touchdowns. He's got touchdowns of receiving on kick return and on punt returns. Like, he's legit. He's done things that no one else in NFL history has ever done. So you can make the argument. But regardless, I think he's a really fun player. And
it's like the wild card.
I'm not really saying that he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but it wouldn't surprise me.
I'll tell you what, I put in Taysom Hill before I put in any punter or kicker into the Hall of Fame. I know that's probably controversial, but
maybe not like Adam Vinatieri. Didn't he win like 3? He won like 3 Super Bowls, right?
They should have like they should have like an interesting section in the Hall of Fame of just like, look at this guy. Like, this is an interesting guy.
Like, this dude's
we
done
want
a
to
whole
shout
bunch
out
of random shit.
Yeah, shout out,
dude. It's crazy. Like, I mean, this dude was undrafted, and like, he started games at quarterback, looked good as a quarterback, and then dominated as a tight end and dominated as a running back. And he's out there on special teams lighting dudes up, and he's like returning kicks. I'm like, this guy literally does everything. It's pretty damn impressive. But yeah, I love the idea of Taysom Hill. Like, if we got 2 of the 5 guys on this list, like let's say K-Dot and then Taysom Hill, you're like, sweet. Then you can keep Ingram, you can keep Atkins if you wanted to. I'd still draft another tight end, but like, that's the bare minimum, I feel like, of what we should do to redo this whole room.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this too. Like, I was thinking about this a lot the last 2 weeks moving up to the Super Bowl. Is I don't get why we didn't make this move for Taysom Hill at the trade deadline, man, with how bad our tight ends were. And we win this game against New England, like you said, Mark. I'm pretty convinced when it starts snowing, you just put Taysom Hill in that game, man, and we win that game. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
We probably get destroyed by Seattle again. That's just how I feel. Like if they were giving the Patriots that much difficulty on offense, probably Jarrett Stone, Taysom Hill, they probably would have had their way with us. But yeah, is it because he's 35? I don't know.
I think we didn't trade for him because we would have owed him. We would have owed him like half of his contract, $7 million.
Oh, so
unless they were willing to take it on, which would have been stupid for them because they're already like eating so much void years. The Saints and their
they're
cap,
so dumb. They're so dumb. They trade for Vele, they get rid of Shaheed for that 4th round pick, dude. Whatever. So
exactly. Yeah. Once again, I just want to throw this in there. Like, I think Taysom Hill, like, the problem with putting him in the Hall of Fame is, let's say in like the next 10, 15 years, there's a guy who actually does what Taysom Hill does, but he does it like at a much higher level. Then when that guy retires, everybody's going to be like, all right, Taysom Hill got to the Hall of Fame. Then why is it this guy? But, also one more thing, if we're putting the interesting section of the Hall of Fame, you got to put Desmond Watson in there, even though he never played a snap for the Buccaneers.
Well, what's his name? The dude that like they have, I feel like they do have a honorable mention or an interesting section because isn't, why am I blanking on his name?
Kendall
the guy
Hinton.
that started at quarterback for us.
Kendall Hinton, yeah.
Yeah. So in there, but guys, I don't actually think that Taysom Hill is a Hall of Famer, but I think it's a worthy conversation. Like it's one of those where if he ends up being like inducted after 20 years of eligibility and finally gets in, I'd be like, I get it. I can respect it because he's done something that nobody else in NFL history's done. Like Devin Hester got in the Hall of Fame as just a return man, So if you're telling me Taysom Hill can't get in there because he threw for he's like 7,000 career passing yards. I mean, his stats are actually pretty damn crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I got. But in terms of just to wrap it up, you talked about like some bottom bin kind of guys, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of free agents that guys that are just strictly blocking tight ends that are available, and there's a lot of cap casualties too that I wanted to go over. That this fantasy life Kodiak had shared it earlier. Like T.J. Hawkinson is somebody that's an interesting name. He's not a bottom of the barrel guy, but Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet.
Oh, Dawson Knox would be awesome.
Yeah, Dawson Knox would be really awesome. Cole Kmet would be dope too. Hunter Henry, be surprising. Colby Parkinson, they have Evan Ingram on there. Tommy Tremble. Tommy Tremble's another one I talked about. Like he's a really good blocking tight end, and he's someone that if he became available would I don't think cost a whole bunch, especially because some of these guys like Tommy Tremble, for example, they would still have $2 million that they owed him, so he might take a little bit less because he's still getting paid by the Panthers, and that goes for all these other guys. So Will Dissly and Charlie Warner are also on there. So there's a whole lot of guys that could become available, but yeah, I mean we'll see.
Parkinson, he had a really good year receiving this year, just out of nowhere too. I think for yak per reception, he led tight ends in the NFL with average yak, which I thought was interesting. So
he had 8 touchdowns in his final 10, is what they were saying. Yeah, he's he really blew up. I don't think he gives you much from a blocking standpoint, but he can definitely and I don't know that he could, but he can definitely stretch the field, man, no doubt about it.
What about converting Frank Crum to tight end after his performance against Buffalo?
I think he's the best tight end we have on our team right now.
Yeah, exactly. He'd definitely be a good blocking tight end, and he can catch on too. So
he led all tight ends. Well, actually, he was tied for first in tight end touchdowns this season. That's embarrassing. That's how
Garrett Bowles in the Pro Bowl looked pretty good as a receiver too.
No shit.
Now he's too valuable as a tackle, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, but
I want to say hi to everybody in the chat too. Jay Weaver reposted this. Go follow him on the Orange and Blue Network. I know that a lot of y'all are talking about wide receivers. We'll get to them later on. But yeah, let us know in the chat. What are some of the tight ends you want the Broncos to go after? Any final thoughts, man, on the tight end position? I'm with you, Mark. We need to sign at least 2. At least.
Yeah. I think my final, I mean, we've hit this, we talked about this a lot. I mean, it's a terrible room. It needs an entire revamping of the room. But I think this is the positional group that you need to hit the hardest in free agency. because it's a lot easier to know what you're going to get with veteran tight ends than betting on the upside. Like, I love the idea of Kenyon Sadiq in the first round, but I just don't trust Sean Payton and his coaching staff to utilize him to the full potential. So I'm very much like my thing is go out there and get a couple of really good veteran tight ends that can actually be worth a damn. And then if they don't produce, then it's just a problem with the coaching staff, period. No. But
dude, hopefully Davis Webb can change some of that. But yeah,
like
huge question.
I think every other position you can make the argument that okay, if we're gonna address it in the draft, I'd be okay with it. I would not be okay with it in tight end if we just did it in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this will be like a draft preview, but you guys have seen that movie Draft Day, right?
Sure.
No.
Okay. Well, then disregard this, David. But I'm going to give you guys a little insight and preview to our draft talk here pretty soon.
Yes.
There you go. I know Mark liked that one.
I agree with you. I love it. We're in no matter what. All right. Well, thanks for letting me start, guys. That was my tight ends, and I think it's only fitting to go from a tight end to a wide receiver, right? So who?
Okay. Y'all want to do it? Well, I got to shout out Darian. He's in here. What's up, man? We were having a great back and forth yesterday. It was like me against everybody. We're going to talk about Mike Evans, but he's not the top one. So let's talk about wide receivers. You guys are talking about the money that guys like Alec Pierce might get. Well, we got to break down the wide receivers into 3 different categories. 3. Number 1, guys you got to trade for. Okay. And that includes the guys that have been franchise tagged. Then number 2, guys that elevate the room, but are they number 1s? We'll find out. That's kind of like the second category. Okay. And then the third one, it is high risk, high reward. That's really it. There are 3 different categories for this. So
love it.
Let's start with the guys that you want to trade for. And this includes guys George Pickens, who's going to be franchise tagged, as well as it's looking like Indianapolis is going to franchise tag Alec Pierce, who I believe, as Mark, I think you were the first one to plant your flag on this show with Alec Pierce. I think he can be a number 1 wide receiver here in Denver as well. I'm with you. So both of those guys are going to be getting, my guess is north of $25 million a year. George Pickens is right around, I think, $30 million or $28 million under the franchise tag. But you probably have to give up pick 30 and then plus for that. I got absolutely reamed on my Jade Barron reel yesterday, talking about how we might need to trade Riley Moss, right? Maybe he can help us get a wide receiver. Well, I don't know if you really want to trade Riley Moss, right? And so do you want to give up a first and a third for one of these guys that you also have to pay? Personally, I would still probably do it for a guy like George Pickens. I would still probably do it for a guy like Jalen Waddle. But I think the Dolphins are going to try and keep him around, even though they have a lot of cap issues. A.J. Brown is somebody that I have warmed up to, thanks to you guys. He's still got tread on the tires. I would be a fan of that, bringing in a number 1 wide receiver that route. And we need to make like a Godfather type offer for not only Justin Jefferson, but we do need to call the Jets, because the Jets have been willing to move off of guys that they feel like they're getting overpaid. Now, when we get to the wide receivers in free agency, here are really the only ones that I see as guys that I would be interested in us targeting. And it's a controversial group. So let me go ahead and pull this up. Let's start with the really boring one. And this is because it is more so Sean Payton than it is me. You guys have said it all along. He could target a guy like Jawan Jennings. 6'3", 212 pounds. Going to be 29 years old at some point this season. Incredibly productive. He doesn't have like blazing speed or anything like that, but just very, very dependable. Let's see. I'm trying to get his touchdowns on here. 9 touchdowns, now only 700 yards. So really, I mean, Troy Franklin had 700 yards this year, but he could be that big slot. He's a bigger wide receiver. You know, Sean Payton loves all that. Kind of move him around. Good locker room guy. I mean, if we sign Jawan Jennings, I won't be pissed about it. But it's kind of like one of those, you're signing him and you don't really know, is he better than some of the guys that we got? That's honestly how I feel about him. Maybe that's a little controversial. But next is really the only other like true free agent. Well, there's 2 more true free agents that I'd be interested in bringing in. And this one would be much cheaper, probably for much less than what we're paying for Cortland Sutton. And that's Mike Evans. Now, Mike Evans, okay. He didn't have a lot of yak last year. Broke his collarbone, right? Okay. Guys, he still has a 6'5" frame, long arms. This guy still gets open. He still gets open. Average depth of target was, I believe, plus 14. It was 14.4 yards down the field. Now, again, he was injured this past year. All right, that's fine. You're going to be able to get him on a big discount. It allows you to draft a guy, say like Ted Hurst, and have him developing, waiting in the wings. If he ever goes down, Ted Hurst can elevate. Maybe Troy Franklin or Pat Bryant take that next step. God forbid Marvin Mims, right, is given more of an opportunity to become like a Jalen Waddle type receiver for this team. But Mike Evans, one of the best receivers of this generation, he can still snag the tough catches. And in the playoffs, guys, in the playoffs, it's not just these finesse players that win you games. It's guys that will go up and make a play, guys who will bring down those tough catches, guys who will make these touchdown catches with the game on the line. I mean, Mike Evans is that guy. So, again, yes, is he washed in some respect? Sure. Like, you're not paying him $30 million a year like George Pickens. You're not. But don't be calling this man freaking the ghost of DeAndre Hopkins. He's not the ghost of DeAndre Hopkins either. Okay. He can probably give you a little bit more than what Cooper Kupp gave the Seattle Seahawks this year. That's how I feel about it, and more. And I do believe that he's still the most talented wide receiver on this team day one, even at age 32 on this roster. So I'll pause here.
Yeah, people act like Cortland
to...
Sutton's so much younger, right?
Say
It's
what?
like a year difference. People act like Cortland Sutton is so much younger, right?
Yeah, more redundant. See, and I guess that's fair, Darian, because like having him on this team, it's not the most natural fit like for the offense, right? But Mike Evans, he can still play the slot. If Sean Payton and Davis Webb have trouble running an offense where the wide receivers are just better than they were last year, but they might be a little bit more redundant, you got an issue, man. That's how I feel about it. Find a way to make it work when these guys are better than what we've had. I'm sick of seeing Lil Jordan Humphrey. Man, in here when we have an injury. Okay. So you sign a guy like Mike Evans, you can still draft a guy in the first, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, and that's a solid 6. But Mike Evans, he's dependable. Sean Payton will trust him. And again, he's 6'5" with super long arms. He still gets open. So I'll pause here before I get to my last free agency target. And are you on the Mike Evans trade? Like, let's say, are you on the Mike Evans train? Let's say we try and make a trade for all these guys that I mentioned beforehand, which I would like us to do. I would much rather prefer A.J. Brown, Waddle, like all these guys over Mike Evans. But let's say we can't swing a trade and free agency hits and George Pickens and Alec Pierce aren't there.
Yeah.
And Mike Evans, he might be the best guy available.
The problem
I
is
agree.
I just want guys that are ascending, okay? I want guys that are ascending, not dudes that are on, like, the back half tail of their career. Like, at least with Pickens, even though the investment would have to be a little bit more substantial than a guy like, Evans, and I do think Evans would be willing to take a discount, but, I feel like he's just one of those guys where he can be a part of a short-term solution, but he wouldn't deter you from adding one more, and I think the Broncos just need one more, okay?
This would
And
be
I
like a 1-year contract. That's how I would
Okay.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, but even then, I think they just need one more, and I just don't know if Mike Evans is the avenue that we should go. Now, once again, I think one of the biggest benefits to him is he wouldn't cost as much as some of those other guys, and you wouldn't have to use a high pick on him.
Yeah.
And I think wide receiver will be the toughest position to solve this upcoming offseason because you do have to get a little bit creative. I think there's a good chance that Boston and Concepcion are off the board at 30. You don't want to go into the draft relying on the fact that they'll just be there. So I don't know. That's interesting. Mark and Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
I don't know who the player is that I want, but like I know the type of player that I want. And if there's somebody available that can be someone like Emmanuel Sanders was for our team, who just comes in, gives 100% effort, gives like catches everything and just goes full throttle, even if it's for a short term, like that's what these young receivers really need to look up to. It seems like Court, like, yeah, he'll make the most incredible catch and then he'll drop the easy ones and it just drives you up the wall. So it's somebody like that is just kind of like
Oh, yes.
Eddie McCaffrey back in the day, Emmanuel Sanders in that mid 2000s, 2015 range. Like those are the type of guys that this team feels like they need.
Wonderfully said. Well, that's a great segue into this is what happens if you strike out on all those trades. You want to go with somebody who's ascending. This is not sexy, but can he give you a diet? Now, diet doesn't mean it's the same level, okay? But a diet Jalen Waddle
Yes.
type of role.
Yes, David. I'm so happy. I'm so happy you put Wandale up. I was actually like, I'm going to save it. I'm going to bring it up at the end.
Yeah,
That was a perfect segue. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he can kind of be that Emmanuel Sanders type guy, man. Like, Wan'Dale Robinson's really good. He doesn't have that absolutely elite top speed that like Jalen Waddle has, but this guy is a much better developed route tree than what we've seen from Marvin Mims. And yeah, maybe you sign a guy. I think BK said, go get Waddle so Marvin can just be the gadget returner guy. Go get Wan'Dale Robinson so that Mims can just be that gadget returner guy and, deep threat or whatever. But Wan'Dale, man, he can, you can target him from all over the field. Now, again, the thing is that he's, 5'8", but we've seen plenty of offenses make things work with a 5'8" wide receiver. Why are we any exception? Like, I
Jalen
think
Waddle's
that,
not much bigger.
yeah. So I think that this could be like a sneaky good target. And I think that there will probably be a little bit more of a demand for Wan'Dale Robinson with just how shallow this free agency class is for wide receiver. Yeah. And, Mims is in the last year of his contract. I don't think, like, personally right now, I wouldn't extend him. I know he's a great returner. You can find other returners on day 3 that you're not paying $10+ million for.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Darian brings up an interesting point about Sean doesn't like small guys, and it does seem to kind of go with Marvin Mims always being on the back burner. But then I think of like Bo Nix playing with Troy, who's not the biggest guy in the world, Tez Johnson, who's not obviously not big at all. And he like used those guys all the time. So it is interesting to see if somebody like who's 5'8", 185 could get a lot of run.
And he dropped like 3% of his targets, like 3%. Like the guy holds on to the ball.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think like I get it, but it's just like, will they be utilized? Like Evan Ingram, when we signed him, it was like, oh, here we go. And then they just never even threw him the ball. So you're just kind of like, you got to figure out who and where they're going to get. That's the biggest factor that we don't know is the Davis Webb factor of is targets going to change? Is like the way that people are used going to change? Or is it more of just like the same type of plays, same type of guys they want, but are they just going to like get the operation a little smoother, that kind of thing? So
Yeah.
that's going to be what's interesting.
Now, I don't want to
Yeah.
take too much more time, but I do have 2 names on the massive risk, massive reward section. Of course, you guys see on my thumbnail, I got Brandon Ayuk. We'll get to him in just a moment. But this potentially could be like, I mean, this could win us a Super Bowl, man. And I don't like him. I think he's a terrible human being. But if he's recovered from from that knee injury, Tyreek Hill is going to be a cap casualty.
Wow.
Hey, you want somebody with speed that can get open. Again, all this depends on his injury recovery, but that means you'll be able to get him for very cheap. You can probably outbid the Chiefs for him because the Chiefs got serious cap issues. And I wonder if he would be interested in trolling the Chiefs and joining our side, for a year or 2. Personally, I hope this wouldn't happen because I just hate who Tyreek Hill is. But I think it's something that probably is going to be considered, my guess, by Sean Payton. At least they will do their due diligence behind the scenes to see if he is worth bringing in, just like all of our 49er players that you brought up with Brandon Ayuk. This man is going to be, a year and a half plus removed from his knee injury. He was almost a 1,500-yard wide receiver in 2024, right? Or 2023. And, I mean, he can be that number 1 option, but where's his head at? This man missed his recovery dates and wasn't meeting with team doctors, rehab, anything like that, and voided all these guarantees out of his deal. Insane self-sabotage. But guys like Tyreek Hill and Brandon Ayuk, they instantly add more juice to this offense than the other guys we mentioned that are normal UFAs, such as Mike Evans and probably Wan'Dale Robinson.
By the way, with Tyreek Hill, I just saw a video online a couple days ago. If you want a good laugh, it was there was like 40 or something like female flag football players trying to just touch Tyreek Hill, and none of them could do it. Like he ran through. Like it was like Tecmo Bowl when like you have like a guy who's twice as fast as everybody. It was just funny to watch.
Yeah,
That
so
is crazy.
And a highly motivated Tyreek Hill against like the Chiefs or something would be fun, but I'm with you on the most part of it.
I know he's just like a terrible person. It's one thing being a diva; it's another thing like just being a terrible person. And we always crap on the Chiefs for like bringing in terrible people into their organizations, right? And then if we were to do the same thing, we can't do that anymore, right? But the man can catch the football. That's for sure.
Yeah, after every draft, we can't just go to the podium and be like, it's not about just the players, but the people we're bringing into the building too, and then sign Tyreek Hill.
And George Pickens. Get those two.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. So, rapid fire. Are you yes or no on Ayuk and yes or no on Hill? We'll start with Mark and then work our way to Kodiak.
I would be a yes on Ayuk with a lot of questions that needed to be answered, right? Because if it comes out that like San Francisco just dropped the ball with him, then cool, we can look past it. Brandon Ayuk is phenomenal. I'd bring him here in a second. Tyreek Hill, a hell to the no.
Okay,
not a chance in hell. No way.
Jeremy?
We wouldn't be able to talk shit about Chiefs fans signing like terrible people anymore either. That's a big part of why I wouldn't want it. But no, I'm good. I'm good on Tyreek.
I would say no on both. I think it's just Sean doesn't go for guys that like take plays off or does any of that extra stuff. It's just not the way this team is like. this team overachieves, or the sum is better than the collective of, you know what I mean? So I just don't see those guys. That's why I don't see George Pickens being a guy either, honestly. I just think that they'd rather have a guy that you're kind of like, that's really the guy that's starting, and then him overachieving. That's kind of his MO. And I think that's not going to change.
Very fair. Kodiak?
Yes, on Ayuk. I think I'd be willing to do it like with almost no parameters or restrictions just because of how good he was last time he was on the field, but definite no on Tyreek Hill.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down for Ayuk. I'm leaving the door cracked for Tyreek Hill. That's as much as I'll say. I'm that desperate to have some weapons on offense. So
T Hill, Taysom Hill, Tyreek Hill, offseason. There you go. Get them both.
I like it. You
Hill
can't
and
get too
Hill.
more. There couldn't be more opposite of players on and off the field, but I like it.
Both over the hill as well.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
very true. Let's finish off with the offense, and then we'll go to defense. So, who had running back?
I did. Okay, I'm gonna go fast since we've got limited time here.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
I looked. I mean, here's basically. I'm not gonna rank anybody. I'm not gonna do all that kind of stuff just because I didn't prepare that way. I was looking at guys to drafted as well, so we'll save that. But like, I think this team needs. I mean, 3 out of the 4 people in our running back group are unrestricted free agents. So I think 2 of those guys should probably not be on the team next year, right? So if one comes back, if you can get J.K. Dobbins back at a good price, it comes with 2 caveats. It's got to be a good price, and it's also not with like the intention to have him be like the workhorse guy. Almost have him be like the third option of like when we need you. Now, he might not want to sign up for that because in his mind, he's like, I'm not injury prone. It was a fluke thing. I should get the carries. I earned it. I had a great year. All those things are totally true. You just cannot bank on that. I mean, we just saw 2 games, these last 2 games. It's like we should have been in the Super Bowl and we would have had a really good chance if we were at full strength, but we weren't because of those reasons. We got injured and we didn't have our guys when we needed them most. So we have to learn lessons from that. That being said, if you look at the available free agents, how would you guys feel? I mean, everybody's going to say Breece Hall. I don't see Kenneth Walker probably leaving Seattle after that, but he's one. Obviously, Dobbins is our guy that we've covered. How would you guys feel, which is I never in a million years thought I'd be saying this, but like, how would you feel about a reunion with Javonte Williams? See, that's what's interesting is like if he wasn't a former Bronco who we saw like being like he's got nothing left, we would be like, oh, this guy had a great year last year and it might not cost that much. But because we have that history, I just find that so interesting because he balled. I mean, he played phenomenally well for Dallas, way better than everybody would have expected. I don't see that happening, but it would be interesting. Then there's weird players like, you got Isaiah Pacheco, somebody like that, where you could steal him from the Chiefs. He runs really hard. Again, he gets injured, but like you wouldn't want him to be. If we could get somebody like that to be our 4 or something like that,
okay,
like that would be fine. You know what I mean? I wouldn't never want that to be like, we're good now because we got, but I kind of feel like we should draft one high. We should sign a priority free agent that should be the veteran in the room. And then we should have either the 4th guy be another veteran free agent or a back of the draft kind of guy. I think we need to infuse it with 3 new running backs to be like safe and just get more juice in the room. I mean, I really liked a lot of what RJ did, and I think he's only going to get better, but there was just a lot that he wasn't seeing. And I think he was thinking too much out there, but he was making big plays like in the clutch. I think that play that inevitably beat the Bills was him taking, a dump off screen and then, breaking 3 tackles and really setting us up. So, people like the Nick Chubbs and the Najee Harrises and those kind of guys, it's just like, I don't I don't see that being like the type of guy we need, you know? And then this draft, Mark did a really good video about top 10 running back draft prospects that I'm totally on board with. So like, yeah, for the people who haven't looked into that, like Mike Washington, I love. Jadarian Price, I really love. And then I doubt we could get him, but Jeremiah Love is just he's a sicko. So I think if we could do a combination of those, we could really rework that room. And that's going to be the position that really helps out Bo the most. I know everybody's thinking wide receiver, and tight end is also can be as well, but like running back is like the biggest pressure valve. And if we can take some pressure off of Bo, that's the most important thing. And it'll be interesting to see how Davis Webb kind of changes, like we talked about. So is there any other guys that you guys had your eye on, running back free agents, that I didn't touch on?
Yeah.
Brees Hall, Algier. I think those. Did we talk about the big?
I said Brees Hall, but yeah, there's Algier and there's Etsy.
And I think Brees Hall needs to be like the top guy at Denver's target with how shallow the wide receiver group is. Like,
so I made this point yesterday when Mark and I were live. So if we're going to just abandon this run game and give our running backs like 7 to 8 carries in our biggest games of the year, I want to hand it to a guy who can house it on every play. And Brees Hall gives you that absurd playmaking ability. That's my argument and my pitch for Brees Hall. Now, if you're going to sign him to like a 3 for 40 or whatever market value contract, you got to make sure that the utilization of him is actually worth it. Yes, Jaleel sucks, but if you got to balance the utilization, we can't just go away from the run game and be like, why are we paying Brees Hall this contract? It would be like Evan Ingram all over again. Why are we paying him this contract to not use him? Okay.
Yeah. And I looked at Spot Track. They have Brees Hall as actually the most expensive
he should be
market value guy.
He is generational with what he's done with the freaking Jets. He's a Hall of Fame talent.
They have him at 10.4 million a year market value. And they have Kenneth Walker at 9 million.
Brees Hall is a better running back than Kenneth Walker for sure.
Those guys are going to get both well over 10 million. That's my prediction.
They have Javonte as the third highest at 7.3. And then they have I know. And then they have two guys. They have Travis Etienne at 6.8, and they have Rico Dowdle at 6.5.
Rico Dowdle, he's a nice consolation.
Yeah. You guys gave me an idea for my next video or next agenda. Brees Hall is the next Saquon Barkley. Leaves a poverty New York team and comes to a team and real team and then just goes ham.
Wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. It's such a good free agency class, man. I mean, you got to get a couple of these guys, but somebody brought up Rachaad White. I think he's awesome.
Yes.
I love Rachaad White. I think he fits really well with what we want to do. But yeah, people forget. I mean, I say people, I mainly talk about myself. I forgot, like, Brees Hall had 78 catches last year. Not last year, like in 2024. 78.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, no, I mean, dude, any of the guys you mentioned, aside from Pacheco, I can't stand Pacheco, even though
I'm cool with him as running back 4, but
I'm good with him as the 4, but he'd be like an upgraded Jaleel in my opinion.
Definitely.
Yeah, the only good thing he would bring is like he would because he's like such a fired up runner. Like he'll have a 2-yard run and get all pumped. And so I'm like, I feel like he'd probably actually be able to get in Sean Payne's face, like, run the goddamn ball, dude. We're not doing 2 carries a game. But yeah, there's a lot of really good guys. I mean, Algier I love as well, but yeah, there's a lot.
And I think if we do bring back JK, it's not going to be done till May, right?
Training camp. Yeah. Here's the other thing that I don't want to see again. I don't want to see us on 4th and 1 in the playoffs trying to do something sneaky where we're rolling out and bootleg. Like, I want a running back for once in my life, like, to where we can just hand him the ball and he gets the freaking tough 1 yard. Like, why can't we're supposed to have this great offensive line. We're supposed to have all this stuff. Like, can we get 1 yard when we need 1 yard? Like, please.
Taysom Hill, baby. That's why I want him.
I mean, the other part of that is they said Stidham was like one of the most prepared guys in this offense. So you know what you should have done in that situation? Line him up under center. Hut 1, hut 2.
And go. And
Easy.
Yep.
There you
Instead
go.
of doing a bootleg.
Yep.
Yep. All
Let's
right,
Yeah,
let's
but
go.
really, my hopes are all for Brees Hall, man. He changes everything.
My hopes are for like just nailing a rookie running back and having a 1-2 punch with RJ Harvey for like the next 5 to whoever knows how many years. That would be my ultimate. If you could get like Price and Harvey and just being like bang bang, like that would be ideal. But
Yes.
yeah,
But
I mean,
yeah.
do you want to pay all the money to not run him? Like that's the problem. Will Davis Webb actually run the football? Will Sean Payton and Davis Webb run the football? I don't know.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out. But one thing that we know is that Sean Payton loves to invest in defense. Same with George Payton. So we do have one position group here that's on defense that's worth talking about. Kodiak is at corner.
I mean, man, I know at number 30 in the face, Cisse is going to be staring us in the face, and we are going to have to do everything that we can to prevent George Payton from reaching his hand in the cookie jar for that one. But no, it is not corner. It is inside linebacker. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of watching Singleton. I'm tired of just watching our linebackers just not be passable. Okay. Dre Greenlaw, not understanding this defense, not up to speed, even in the back half of the year. What even is that? Sternad, you played very, very well this year. Made me take back everything I said about him back in 2024 when I said I don't want to see this guy on the field again. Absolutely balled out, but Sternad wants to get paid somewhere else. And I think he's deserved that opportunity. And I think, I think the only guy you could really bring back in this room is Greenlaw. Give it another go. I think Drew Sanders, he's honestly a guy that I just trade at this point. I think just see.
Right?
Yeah, I think, well, if he has any value, I think you could still, since he was a early round 3 pick, I think you could still potentially get like a 2028 7th for him. And I think it's just better for everybody to move on because we did him no favors deciding that he was a linebacker and an edge and then flip-flopping on that or whatever. But one of our biggest snaps in a long time last year on Chargers Thursday Night Football, 3rd and 11, we dial up a blitz. He sacks Herbert, so that was good. But David, if you do me a huge favor and share my screen share, I have a few off-ball linebackers that I do want to talk about for this team. So the first one I'm going to start with is Leo Chenal. Okay, the reason this guy's been on my radar for like a long time is because he jumped out the gym. All right. 10 relative athletic score back in 2022. And he was actually the guy I wanted us to take instead of Greg Dulcich. But when we took Greg Dulcich, I was like, whatever, vertical threat, field stretching tight end. But either way, with Chenal, he's kind of been relegated to mop-up duty over there in Kansas City because Bolton was their one. But Bolton, he's kind of like me. Like at my restaurant job, it's very physically active. But I feel like, next month, exactly, I'm going to be 25. Nick Bolton is washed at 25. And I feel like, unfortunately, with the contract they paid Nick Bolton, they kind of had to utilize him in that specific role. Not because he was the best, but because that's sort of what they wanted to do. But Leo Chenal, he played in a tough defense to pick up. He played in a very aggressive defense. Spags, 3rd and whatever. He's always going to dial up pressure. History tells us that. But yeah, a pretty good guy by all accounts. And the Chiefs, they can't keep everyone. They're already having a litany of cap problems as well. And for a guy who had a surprisingly outstanding year for Cleveland that a lot of people have been talking about has been Devin Bush. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what sticks out to me about Devin Bush is that he was 5th in the NFL amongst linebackers in yards per coverage snap, which I think was just absolutely crazy. I don't know how to get to like the specific. I don't know. I'll worry about that later. But either way, so he only allowed 247 yards, and that was on 403 coverage snaps. And I think for Bush, like obviously the profile made a lot of sense for the Steelers to go up and get back in 2019 because they actually traded up with us. And if you guys remember, we had Devin Bush written in on the card until we traded back for Noah Fant and Drew Lock and a litany of busts from the 2019 draft. But either way, he finally put it together in year 6, I think, of his career or 7. It was really interesting. I think one of the big things that was why he was able to succeed was because he was playing next to Schlesinger in Cleveland, and they also had a really strong front seven. They obviously had Mason Graham this past year as well, and Schlesinger, who won Defensive Rookie of the Year, but Myles Garrett also breaking the sack record. And this guy's been a sure tackler. He's been a sure tackler basically his entire career. So I don't know. You guys have any thoughts about Devin Bush before I go any further? Only 7.1 missed tackle percentage. Any thoughts of the first two guys I mentioned before we get to the other two?
I
I
love
love
both of them.
Bush.
Yeah, I like both of them. And I think there is one guy on my list. I think that can be the green dot guy. And, shout out to Luka Evans for asking him at the Super Bowl if he'd be happy to play in orange and blue. And here you go. Nakobe Dean, linebacker out of Georgia, who a lot of people were really, really excited about in the 2022 draft. He was I remember around mock draft season, like February, January, around this time in 2022. I remember he was late first round, early second round buzz. And then he falls all the way to the third round, same with Channing Tindall, from that same draft class. But either way, the good thing about Nakobe Dean is, once again, you look at the coverage stats, and he has held up for the most part. 249 coverage snaps, and he's only allowed I think 19 targets, or in 28 targets as well, which I think is the lowest per target. The thing is, though, he does allow some explosive plays. Looks like he allowed somebody on the Chargers to sneak out of the backfield here. But yeah, once again, with Nakobe Dean, you get a guy who has been pivotal for the Philadelphia Eagles and their leadership as of late. And I know that goes far with this coaching staff, maybe a little too far, I think a lot of us would argue. But, I'd be happy to see a guy like Nakobe Dean, 5'11", 231, another guy who can jump out the gym. Now, I'm going to bring up a guy that a lot of us, I think, have not really gotten a whole lot of insight into, and that's DeMarco Jackson out of Appalachian State. So he actually played for the Saints for the first 3 years of his career. And I think how we know Sean Payton loves his former Saints, but TJ Edwards went down for the Chicago Bears this past year, and DeMarco Jackson, all he did was step in and just make plays. And he actually was PFF's highest graded coverage linebacker this past year. Now, granted, it's on a very limited sample. It's on 183 coverage snaps. But man, all this guy did was step in and really just step in and show out on their biggest games of the year. But yeah, I mean, if you're going for a bottom barrel budget signing who flashed in limited action, I mean, maybe another team overpays him because of what he did in that limited action. But man, looks like he's finally starting to put it and get together. I think you could compare it to Sternad. Maybe this could be a reroll on Sternad. I know that doesn't sound sexy to a lot of people, but yeah. Any thoughts about any of those guys I mentioned? We could talk about the guys currently on the team, or any targets you guys have.
I haven't followed Devin Bush's career necessarily, but seeing a Pittsburgh Steeler guy, them trading up for him and then quitting on him in the division, it was interesting. That gives me pause, because they don't typically, Steelers, they're typically guys that just hold on to their mainstay guys forever. So there was something there. I always look at trends like that. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? It can happen. Sometimes it just doesn't click until a guy's a few years in or whatever. But that was my only ever thing with Devin Bush.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't that good when he was with Pittsburgh too. It definitely took him a long time to actually really show out. I think they drafted him after Shazier had that really, really bad injury. And I don't know. I think they were expecting him to ascend into that role, and I just don't think he ever did. But you know what? Like you said, year 6, year 7, how often have we seen that? That seems to be a theme in the NFL, where a guy just can finally put it together and be a late bloomer. It seems to happen more at linebacker than any other position.
Yeah, it's kind of the quarterback of the defense. You're calling you have to make sure you're the green dot guy typically, and all that kind of stuff. So that makes sense why it would take a little bit of time. But I found that interesting.
Why didn't you include Devin Lloyd in here?
Well, the reason I didn't include Devin Lloyd in here, actually, that's a good question. We should have touched on him, but man, we're not investing in offense or defense this offseason heavily. Okay. Now, obviously, we still need to get guys. We still need to fill out our roster. And I think we still need to make a trade or two for a defensive lineman, if I'm being completely honest, which I know a lot of the fan base would hear that and be like, yeah. But at the end of the day, man, this defense has so much invested into it as far as picks and cap space, the little draft capital that we did have over the past handful of years. but you already extended Allen, you already extended Benito, you already extended Surtain, so you're gonna need to get younger and cheaper on defense. And Lloyd, as much as I would love the player, I would love his playmaking ability. It just doesn't. It would just be one third contract, or no, second contract too many, I should say, on the defensive side of the ball. What about you guys?
Yes,
I agree with
Yeah.
you 100%.
Yeah.
I think that that's not only the smart way to go about it, but I think that's ultimately what they're going to end up doing. They're going to need to be a little bit more, a little bit smarter in terms of the defensive spend, as they should be. That's why, I mean, what was his name? DeMarco Jackson?
DeMarco Jackson, yeah.
That's a hell of a pull. I like that. Like, those kinds of guys make a lot of sense. And I think that's ultimately what it'll go down to. But man, finding a good off-ball linebacker is like next to impossible. I mean, just name all the best ones in the NFL. It's such a small list of guys that are that good. And I like CJ Allen. I like this draft a lot. Like, I think if you're going to address one of those positions, addressing it in the draft makes a lot of sense. Makes more sense to me than anything else, because I think you're either going to overpay for someone like Devin Lloyd could be really good, but was $20 million a year, and he better be out of this world good to be able to make it worth it. And then, so anybody else that you're going to be paying a lot, it's going to be difficult to find. But it's a really good off-ball linebacker draft, man. And I think like somebody like a DeMarco Jackson or Devin Bush might be a little bit expensive. Leo Chanel makes a lot of sense too. He's still kind of scarred from him for blocking that kick on us, but that's another player that
I would
makes a
love
lot of sense.
Chanel here. That would be
Yeah.
awesome. And Greenlaw, I mean, you can move on from him after this year as well. So a signing doesn't prohibit you from drafting a guy high as well.
Exactly.
No. Yeah, no. And I don't think any of us want to move on from Greenlaw, but I don't think any of us would be surprised if they did. Okay. I think if you asked Sean Payton, about any of these linebackers, he'd be like, give me the best one with good communication skills, because apparently none of our other linebackers can speak English besides Alex Singleton. And he's a good communicator, and that's why he was
Just
on the
speak
field.
Spanish, right?
Well, Dre Greenlaw doesn't understand Spanish. Maybe he should just hang out with J.K. Dobbins, because J.K.
And Bad Bunny.
Spanish. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, man, but it's a good point too, because like you had said, David, I memean, like, let's say we got Leo Chanel, right? And then we drafted CJ Allen at 30. Cool. Like, that's great. And then if CJ Allen is just balling out in camp and they're like, man, I feel really good about him, you can make the decision on Dre Greenlaw even then. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, you have to trade him or release him, before a certain time. Or you could just go into the season and roll with it, because again, his contract is not really hindering you that much.
Not at all.
From anything.
It's cheap. What is it? $10 million this year on the cap, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit under.
Like nothing.
What was your guys' thoughts about the stuff that came out about Greenlaw not really knowing the defense very well this year?
Pathetic. Beyond pathetic. Like, it's just like, bro, come on.
I know we got good weed, but San Francisco has good weed too, and he learned that defense.
Yeah, that was surprising. Do you think that a second year and also being hopefully non-injured, like, he was dealing with injuries and he was dealing with a new system, which, maybe he just assumed it was going to be similar or whatever because they wanted him. Those two things can maybe have a breakout year the second time.
Yeah, no, I think definitely with a healthy offseason and with, him actually having a chance to be on the field, during training camp and all that, I think a lot of that will go a long way. But still, I just don't understand how, a guy like that doesn't wrap his head around the defense. Didn't seem to be a problem with Hufanga. Hufanga was on the field every snap pretty much this year, except for, I think there was one drive he missed against the Jets. And that was like the only kind of fine drive the Jets had that game.
Well, it was weird too, because it's not like I don't feel like Greenlaw looked really lost. So
Me neither.
It might have been difficult for him, but I mean, I think if he has a healthy offseason, he actually gets the reps. This guy didn't play a snap until October, and then he got suspended, and then he played for a few games, and then he got hurt. So like, he didn't play a lot. I think year two would be really big for him, and he certainly didn't look lost at all. And so I don't overly worry about it. and maybe he was kind of, I wouldn't say BSing, but like over exaggerating a little bit too. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
what I'm
as the way
wondering.
to kind of as an excuse, because there's no way it was that hard.
Then
You
why
wouldn't
wasn't he on the
think.
field?
Wow,
Because
a lot of it
Singleton
was injury.
communicates well, bro.
What do you think Darian's question about Caden Ellis?
Oh, sorry, I got away from the chat.
Oh, no,
We
you're
also
good.
had a
It's just,
super chat I need to get to. I think
he said, I
Cody,
think Caden Ellis is the move. How do you feel about
Problem is
that?
he's 30, and once again we want guys that are ascending. Okay.
Ideally, but like we have so many, like that's kind of the one position group I feel like we would want like a solid veteran to kind of, I mean, that's where we had Singleton and that's where we had, I would be okay with, I would trust like Caden Ellis more than I would trust a lot of those guys. So I would be fine with that. I mean, as long as, our young ascending guys are our secondary and our pass rushers, like in our defensive line, I can understand like the linebackers kind of being like the quarterbacks of the defense kind of guys, but
No, that's a solid argument, and I mean, it's just one of those things that I just want to give. I'm just tired of being in this cycle. Okay, I've said the words "I'm tired" a lot when talking about the linebacker position, and
I hear you.
it's been since B. Marsh and Trevathan since we've had like actual like difference makers at that position.
Yep.
Yeah, when were those guys even picked? I know Marshall was undrafted. Trevathan, was he a 6th rounder?
Trevathan, I think he was
for
the
sixth.
pick we got for Tebow. I think Trevathan was either the pick we got for Tebow. It was
I
either him
wanna-
or Jackson.
I
But
thought he was like a 4th rounder
Trevathan was a 6th rounder in 2012.
or 6th rounder. Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how we got that pick. I think it was the Tebow pick, but don't quote me on that.
Thank you, Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. B. Marsh was Brandon Marshall was undrafted.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, you can find those, and sometimes it just takes a few years for guys to click. I mean, Alex Singleton was just a special teamer until he was a starter. Zach Bond was a special teamer until he was a starter. You talked about Devin Bush. Maybe it just, eventually click with him. So it takes a while sometimes for inside linebackers to just ball out. It's rare that they come in and just like take the league by storm like Luke Kuechly did or Schwesinger did this year even. Usually these guys take a minute.
Yeah, and what I think it's lost in the sauce about linebackers is it's relatively a devalued position in the NFL. Okay, it's kind of like the running back of defense where, you'd think that teams would want to invest into it, but they really don't. There's guys like Campbell that and Schlesinger that last until like 32, 33. Unless a guy is just an absolute unicorn, like Sonny Styles is probably going to break this mold this upcoming year. But I feel like 3rd round every single year we just get off-ball linebackers spammed by all these GMs. So, and all those contracts last year we saw a lot of 3 for 45s, but Spillane getting like a 3 for 30. Greenlaw got like 3 for 33 here. So I don't know. It's just interesting to think about.
I think it's because they want to play so much like nickel and like that kind of stuff where they just want to get safeties more for coverage than they do want to, traditionally have like 3 linebackers out there, like getting just for matchups and all that kind of thing. Sean is like the guy who's like, oh, we got this guy on the field. Like you saw him in the playoffs. As soon as one guy went out, it's like, oh, let's attack that. So I think that's typically why it's been devalued.
But you're right.
And we got to stop with the Riley Moss slander. I'm sick of this. We kind of floated it out there just to float it out. But come on, guys. He's been a fantastic football player for the Denver Broncos. Like all I have to say is last year when he went out, we looked like a completely different defense. Like,
oh man,
we had never seen had his value. It was like Bo Nix once we saw Jarrett Stidham play. It was like, oh, never mind, he is amazing. Like we knew that, but like the rest of the NFL was like, they understood what Bo Nix was as soon as they saw Jarrett Stidham. We saw what Moss was as soon as he went out and saw Levi Wallace or whatever it was. That was rough. And anybody you take off the field, I know the default to just be like, well, we got Barron in the 1st round, he's got to play. But like sometimes that 1st round pick might not. It's got to be the right. I'm not saying Barron's bad and he is going to be good, but like that might not be his spot. He might be the nickel guy. I don't know.
Who's that defensive tackle dude that we drafted at the end? like
What season?
2013, 2014. That dude didn't play really at all, but he
I
did
think it was
play
Cody
on
X's
a
favorite player, one of his favorite guys.
No. You're talking about McDelvin Agee. Are you talking about Sylvester Williams? Or
yeah.
No,
Did he win a
Sylvester
Super
Williams
Bowl
was the
in
first round pick, though.
yeah, he
Yeah,
was a
right.
first round
But
pick.
we
Like, we
didn't
didn't draft
see
him
him.
late.
I feel
He-
like much at all those first
I don't
Well,
know.
like,
years.
remember
he-
Shane Ray? We drafted him in the first round. Everybody was super excited about him, and then it didn't really pan out. Like, it doesn't matter where you draft. As soon as you're drafted, it doesn't matter where you're drafted. As soon as
See-
like you're on the football team. So like from there on, you just
Sylvester
have,
was our starting nose on that 2015 team. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I still feel like
Yeah.
he barely played because of how lethal Jackson and Wolf were on the interior that
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
But either way,
he just kind of held up.
there's a couple things I want to counter with Jeremy to like, yes, I get it. You know, we saw what Moss meant to this team back in 2024 when Levi Wallace went out, but
Mhm.
that was Levi Wallace. That was like an all-time unmitigated disaster.
Yep.
Okay. You saw Chris Abrams-Strange step in for Surtain this past year, and we barely missed a beat on the defensive side of the ball. Okay. We did not skip a beat. And not to say that Chris Abrams-Strange is the long-term outside solution, because like he's what, 5'10, 5'9, like 179 pounds. He can't like he wouldn't be able to hold up throughout a whole season. But also, you know, Jahdae Barrett, I think corner in our defense is plug and play. I think you saw that this past year with Abrams-Strange, and I think they drafted Barrett with the idea that he would eventually usurp either McMillan or Moss. And at some point, Moss is going to be a UFA after this year, and you just got to figure out where you're strong and start pivoting resources to your entire team.
But and I hear all of that. The thing is, when it comes to cornerbacks, you're only as good as the worst one, because that's the one that can just keep throwing it to. So like, if you have a fall off, and then and let's say, oh, all the starters are pretty good, but then after that it takes a big dip, and then one guy goes out, now you're screwed, because like that's the Levi Wallace I'm talking about. It was not necessarily Levi Wallace the player, but Levi Wallace the situation of being back to your weakest link, and then all of a sudden it's like your whole defense is like got like a huge vulnerability. So that's the only thing is like, yeah, if Moss is going to cost a ton and you don't want to waste all your resources on one position group, I understand that. But like right now is I think, you know, we've been lucky by the depth we've had. Now, if we lose that depth, we could be in trouble.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
Yeah.
But David, Mark, any thoughts on that?
I think you got to trade Riley Moss. I'm just kind of, you can't really talk me out of it. And it's, again, nothing to do so much with Riley being good or bad. I think he's a great starting corner. I think we'll get a really good pick for him because teams will view that. But it makes too much sense. And I think that I hear Jeremy's argument in terms of like, almost be careful what you wish for. You know, you think Barron can come in and just do as well. But one thing I do know is what Riley Moss's ceiling is, from what I've seen. And he's just not a playmaker. He's not someone that makes teams pay for going at him. Jahdae Barron can be that guy. And really, without the pass rush that we have, our secondary could be a lot more vulnerable anyways. So I'm definitely of the camp of trade Riley. Get a pick for this year. Utilize Jahdae Barron. Keep developing your guys. Keep draft. They're gonna draft. Whether we trade Riley or not, they're gonna draft a corner probably maybe sign one too.
Sicario Davis, baby, 6'4" corner.
Tech Davis, Arizona legend. I love him.
Yeah, so I just think I think it's time, and like I keep going back because it's like, yeah, he made some plays, and then you guys know who Shedrick Jackson is? Have any of you guys heard of Shedrick Jackson?
No.
All right. I'm glad nobody heard of him. Shedrick Jackson plays for the Raiders. Okay. He had 4 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown the entire season. All right. His touchdown and 2 of those catches were on Riley Moss. He absolutely cooked Riley Moss, actually. And it was a beautiful throw by, it was Geno Smith's backup, little hand guy. What's his name?
Okay, I'll have to
Kenny
Pickett. I'll have to rewatch that, but I think I remember at that time.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of people shitting on Jones for not doing his assignment well.
He looked.
Maybe.
Riley Moss immediately looked like, "Where are you at, dude? Like you're supposed to be giving me help on that one."
Yeah.
So, I remember that play. as well.
Potentially, but like again, there's always those moments where you're like, "What the hell?" Like you got burnt by somebody in the Commanders game. It was another no-name guy, like late in the
Traylon
game.
Burks
And I
did
was
like the Odell thing, remember?
Yeah, like
yeah, that one I didn't
anyway.
blame him for.
But
there was one he got
Jalen
burned down the sidelines. By
It was
some
on the
random kid.
end where he thought the play was over, and then but
Debo.
again, he makes the tackle that saves the touchdown.
He
I
did.
don't know. I'm just gonna.
I
say,
want him. I want him out of here because I think he can help us get a number one weapon. But
No.
if you're saying, Dave, you got to put money on what's going to happen, it's everybody returns in the secondary. That's what they're going to do. Barron's going to be our cornerback for the second year.
Yeah, and
That's
they're
what
gonna
my
say
money-
that's why they fired Addison Lynch. They fired Addison Lynch because he was teaching Riley Moss to pass interfere too much or something.
You know
I
what?
don't know.
Maybe.
Like I said, I
because-
mean, I hate having the conversation because it's like I defended Riley all year. I don't want to come off like a Riley hater. It just makes too much sense given where we are right now. You know what I mean?
What do you mean? What does that mean? Like we're
Because
on
it's
the
like-
cusp of winning a Super Bowl. Like where are we?
Yeah, but you also have you're very deep at corner, and you're gonna lose him next year anyways.
Not necessarily.
Like,
I mean,
So
depends.
if he comes back,
Yeah.
right, and we win a Super Bowl, great. Then we can lose him, and it's all good. But if we don't, then you're just opening up another problem that you could have gotten ahead of, you know. And I don't think that Riley Moss returning, you know, and Jade Barron playing in a spot, or Chris Abrams-Drain that we at least have seen play in a spot, I don't think that will dictate us winning a Super Bowl or getting to the next level more than if we were to use that resource and potentially get it to somewhere else. Now, obviously, if we traded Riley Moss and we drafted someone and that guy sucked and we basically ended up, you know, he ended up being worthless, okay, then that would be unfortunate. But most likely it's going to be more helpful than it's going to be a bad thing. I mean,
But do you think
know.
he's
Like
going to get paid top tier money? Is that why?
Riley Moss?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't he want to? He would.
Well,
If I was him, if he had another
I
season
want
like he
to.
does this year, if he has another season like he did this year, I mean, he's going to get $15 to $20 million a year probably. It's just usually how it goes with guys on the free agency.
I'm not an agent. I don't know, but like it almost feels like the NFL disrespects Riley Moss more than anybody, and like I just don't see them being like, oh, all of a sudden, I know we've talked trash about this guy for 4 years. Now he's like the number one free agent. Like I just don't see that. I think you could get him back for like a good deal. I think he's more valued to us because we understand him. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But Sean traded up for him and then like vouched for him and then drafted Barron in the first round and has had Chris Abrams and then still stuck with him as the starter the whole time. So I think internally they really like him.
No, dude, I don't think there's any doubt about it. And like I said, I don't actually think that the Broncos are going to trade Riley Moss. That's what I would think would make sense, but I don't think they'll actually do it. Okay. And I think that front office executives are obviously a lot smarter than like the Twitter people that hate on Riley and don't even watch the Broncos.
Depends on the team.
I think he's very well respected across the league, and a lot of GMs would be interested in trading for Riley. That's kind of my point. Is it's like I think we can get a 3rd round pick for Riley Moss, and it'd be hard to say no to that. And if you're talking a 5th or a 6th, I don't really care at that point. Like it's not worth it. But a potential top 100 pick, I mean, yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't at least entertain it. And you could regret it, but those are moves that you have to. There's risks that you got to take. There's moves that you have to make, and that one, I feel like at least it makes sense given the fact that we have what we believe is adequate depth behind.
Do you trade 30 in Moss for Jalen Waddle? Chat.
That would be a lot. I think 30 would be fine.
Yeah, I think that's
30.
I don't think you'd have to give Moss for that.
Okay, a second, then a second in Riley Moss for Jalen Waddle.
Again, it's hard to quantify Moss as raw pick value. Yeah. It's because he's an extremely volatile player, and he's going to be in his last year of his current rookie contract. So I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I think for me, like I said, there comes a point where it's like. He's playing good. He's getting picked on a lot. I get it. I know he plays opposite of PS2. It's going to happen. But like, okay, make him pay, please. I was like all year, I was like, I hope Riley Moss gets a pick 6, man. That would be the best redemption story. And it's like, he plays solid, but he doesn't make that like game changing play. I always take it back to Jaquan, and I know it's a different conversation, but Last year, Jaquan was the most targeted corner on our team. He was the one that got burnt the most. He was the guy that had the most touchdowns scored against him. But holy shit, did he make teams pay at the biggest time. Pick 6 against Cleveland. Always makes big plays. Obviously, he showed up again this year. That's kind of what I want to see is like, you might get burnt, dude, but I want to see you make a play, not just come back and have a PBU or good coverage down the field. Like, make them pay for it. Have them fear you so that they don't even they look to go elsewhere. That's the only gripe I have. But I mean,
Now, Denver
overall, I
Trav's
think Riley
bringing
Moss
this
is
up.
absolutely a starting corner in the NFL.
Now, I think we've all talked about just putting like the second round tender on McMillan, where he'll play at like just a little under $6 million for this year. But this does bring up another question: is if they just want to transition Barron to play the slot this year, do you put like a what are other tags we can put on him as a restricted free agent? Is there another one we can put on to get picks that are like less than a second round comp? Is there a third round tender we can put on him?
You can do the one where it's like it's equivalent to what he was drafted at. So for him, it would be like a 7th rounder. I forgot what it's called. They might have taken that one out though.
Not even worth it.
They might have taken it out. And here's another thing. So like, if it was the same exact situation for Jaquan and Riley, like let's say both of them were unrestricted free agents, the reason that I wouldn't view it to be necessarily the same is because yes, Barron played a little bit of slot this year. He covered the tight end. But like in college, he was mainly an outside guy that played inside. The vision that Sean Payton said they had for him is an outside in corner. So outside first and playing more on the inside. And they played him on the inside because there was more like opportunities for him to get on the field that way because you can only really have 2 outside corners. But like my thing is let's say you let Jaquan McMillan walk. Like you don't have a bona fide, hey, we know you can stick Barron in the slot and he's going to be really, really good there.
Yeah.
You don't know if he's going to be really good on the outside either. But like, you got Chris Abrams-Drain still on the outside. You've seen him play. I thought he was going to be more of a slot guy, but he didn't play. So like Chris Abrams-Drain's kind of the domino to this, where it's like, now we don't have really, you can't say we have depth at corner, but we don't have not much depth at the nickelback position. And it's in this defense, it's a starter. I mean, Jaquan McMillan is a starter, and it's kind of a unique situation where you can fill it in there. So, but again, Jaquan McMillan just makes plays, man. That's all he ever does. He's an amazing blitzer. He finds the ball. He's at some of the craziest interceptions I've ever seen. I think it was against Carolina even last year. It was like he makes out of this world plays
where he turns around.
That's a guy that you just can't you can't let go. Plus, he's not going to cost you shit.
Yeah, no. I remember that exact same play where he just turns around and the ball's just in his hand and he doesn't even see it. It's just there and he just catches it.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah, but
I mean, dude is ridiculous. Like I love watching him play. And I think that, like I said, that'd be the only gripe because, man, if Riley did go out there and just make teams pay, like think about how it would have transformed that defense even more. And listen, same goes for Hufanga. Hufanga got to catch the ball, but Hufanga's doing other things that are big time too.
You're making a great argument for George Payton to draft another corner high this year.
It's probably going to happen, man. It's probably going to happen. I feel like every year they're just going to do it.
They're going to draft a corner, a receiver, and something else every draft, a pass rusher.
At least we don't have to draft a punter this year. We got the specialists down. So,
yeah.
Draft 2 basketball players this year. Guys, I got to wrap this up. I got to go to bed. But you guys have been fantastic. Kodiak, Jeremy, Mark, everybody in the chat. Y'all go subscribe to Denver Trav as well. Help this man get monetized. Come on now. Any final thoughts, guys? We'll be back all throughout the offseason. Hopefully we can keep this as a regular thing. I know we'll talk a little bit about maybe adjusting the time, but just want to appreciate everybody for coming in here. You guys make this a lot of fun. And we'll be here to react, to fight, to argue, to celebrate, a new Super Bowl coming in 2026. So, guys, I'm out of here. You guys are out of here. Go subscribe to Mark, Kodiak, Jeremy. Links in the description. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos, baby.
Peace.
sacrifice.
He's grabbed and he's going to be sacked.